All right, Steeler fans, welcome back. It is time for the mailbag segment. This is where we always take a look at exactly what's happening with the fan base, their feelings on everything, and we have a lot to discuss. I put out the tweet every Tuesday in case you're wondering, how do I get my question answered? It's actually pretty simple. You just go to my Twitter feed. You don't have to follow me, but you just have to go to my Twitter feed, and it's at jhartman, HARTMAN_PIT. I put out the question every Tuesday morning. You respond. That's it. That is it. So let's get this started. We had a lot of questions. Let's start this off with our buddy Jeff Coons from up north. He said, "Greetings from Not Mad, Canada. One of the most repeated Tomlinisms is it's not what you're capable of, it's what you're prepared to do. My question is, what is Mike prepared to do? It would appear Mr. Rooney is bringing him back. Mediocre Mike cannot continue. I'm writing this before his Tuesday press conference. Words are cheap, and Tomlin has become a master of the verbal clip to attempt to appease the fan base. That has drawn stale. The Steelers are annually good enough to compete, but not contend. What will Mike do to change?" And he talked a little bit in his press conference about how drastic changes could be made. The key word there is could. I would love to see them get fresh minds in there on the offensive side. I've talked about some of those drastic changes on this podcast, but ultimately the drastic changes we won't know for a while. It's like free agency starts. Who do they want to keep? Who do they get rid of? We'll see. Believers said the Ride or Die Crew poll of the week. I want the Steelers too. One of the answers is keep the status quo. One of the options is continue the rebuild. And the third option is burn it all down. I voted for continue the rebuild. I think that the Steelers do have some pieces of the puzzle in place to actually be a successful team. Burning it all to the ground, man, I don't think people realize how long that would take to recover from. So I went with continue the rebuild. When you look at places like the offensive line with Troy Fautanu, Mason McCormick, you even have Zach Frazier, Broderick Jones is still young. That is a young budding group that could turn into something special. So you don't want to burn that all down. Let's go to plain and simple Maddie. He said, howdy from Atlanta, Jeff. So at this point, after a decade of the same nonsense, to me right now, it's why not season. Someone is open to trading for Minka, Watt, Cam, etc. Why not? Aaron Rodgers, why not? Mike McCarthy, why not? Not saying they should, or I want those specifically, but at this point, open the deck of cards to anything, because why not? What's your thoughts? God bless, and here we go. Thank you, Maddie. For me, I agree. It's like I said at the first half of the show. This is an offseason where if I'm trading George Pickens if there's a deal on the table. If someone wants him, I'm not trading him for a 6th-round pick. But if someone says, we'll give you a 3rd and maybe a 5th next year, a 3rd and a 6th, whatever, a pick swap in 2026, whatever, let's make it happen. If someone says Minkah Fitzpatrick is a player we think could fit well in our defense, what will it take? We'll give you a 2nd-round pick this year, a 3rd-round pick next year. Let's make it happen. Why not? I agree. It's the year of why not. All right, Brian Haynes asked a lot of questions. Let's get him started. Looking at the GIF you used, do you think that's a statement people are saying to Art? And he's referring to, I used a GIF from one of my favorite movies in terms of humor, and that is The Other Guys with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell. And it says, down here starting to murmur that you don't have the balls to do it. I used that GIF intentionally, but it was more so just because a lot of tough decisions are going to have to be made. And I don't know if they've got the cojones, the marbles to do it. We'll see if they do or not. Next from Brian. What's the most important change that needs to happen to get us back to the true Super Bowl contender status? They need to get a quarterback. Until you have a quarterback, you are a have-not in the NFL. Next from Brian. If you could handpick 4 coaches for the team, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, offensive line, and head coach, if they're part of this team or not, who would you choose? I don't know. I mean, I don't know all the potential candidates. I'm not about to pretend like I know defensive coordinator candidates or offensive line coach. Every Steeler fan is just going to automatically go to the number one name. It's Mike Munchak. Just go to Mike Munchak because it's a name they know. I'm not going to lie to the fan base. I don't know. Next from Brian. Is George Pickens going to get a new contract from us? I don't think so. I would be absolutely shocked. I would be absolutely stunned if he gets a new contract. Brian asks, do you think that Art has had a come to Jesus talk with Tomlin? I know they met. Mike Tomlin said that they met. What does a come to Jesus meeting look like with Art Rooney and Mike Tomlin? No clue. No clue. All right, let's go to some other questions here. Tom East, he asked, Jeff, ugh, same old Steelers. Now we begin another offseason of hope. Well, hope isn't a strategy. However, I do bleed black and gold. My question is honestly, where do we start and should it be painful? Here's to a positive outlook for next year. Go Steelers. Honestly, Tom, I would say that I go back and listen to Monday's podcast. And then I hope that the first half of this podcast will really help emphasize where I think the Steelers should start. And then on Friday, we're going to talk about team needs. What are the top team needs in order of importance? We're going to we'll get all that stuff done. And then Tom also adds, Jeff, also, can we, for the love of football gods, get rid of Pat Meyer? He was on my list, man. Listen to Monday's show. He was on the list of coaches I want replaced. Tyler asks, hey, Jeff, I'm under the assumption that the Steelers will ultimately retain Tomlin as well as Arthur Smith. With this being said, what style of quarterback does Arthur Smith's system prefer? Also, is the keeping of Wilson in the second half of the playoffs an indication of interest in signing? So let's answer that before he gave a part two as well. I wouldn't be shocked if they keep Arthur Smith. He had 1 year to do it unless he gets a head coaching job. I think that Arthur Smith, if you listen to his comments during the season, it didn't sound like he wanted to go to Russell Wilson. It sounded like he felt like they were making some headway with Justin Fields. I think he loved how Justin Fields could run the ball and his ability to create when nothing is there. I think Arthur Smith might be able to put a plan in place for Justin Fields. Will it be what people want? No. But could it be better than what we saw? Yes. I don't think Wilson is guaranteed to be back. I'll be honest. Part two from Tyler. Are there any players on the roster that you could consider untouchable? Lastly, what's one blockbuster trade for a player would you be in support of? First round plus. Untouchable player, some of those pieces on the offensive line, the young guys, they're untouchable. I'm not getting rid of those guys. Defensively, like Keanu Benton's untouchable, Joey Porter Jr., like the young like cornerstone pieces are not to be touched. That's important. We're not touching them. And what's one blockbuster trade for a player would you be in support of? It would be someone like Garrett Wilson. I love him as a wide receiver. If they would make a move and trade for him, I would be in support of it. But at the same time, what do you got to give up? RJ McCollum, he asked a question. From the looks of things, we should have got Cliff Kingsbury. Seems like he's doing a good job with Jaden Daniels. But in the end, I'm glad I got you guys in the offseason. Yeah, hindsight's always 2020. Cliff Kingsbury in Pittsburgh could have been a disaster. He's good because he has a quarterback that fits what he wants to do. I don't think that either of the quarterbacks in Pittsburgh necessarily fit what Cliff Kingsbury wants to do. RJ also said, I don't remember who said it, but I think they're right. Why can't we have an offense like the Ratbirds? We had Fields, we have Muth and Washington. It's just all around bad when you hear the reporters say, let's see when you hear the reports, let's see if they start Fields. Yeah, I get what you're saying. The offense could and probably should be better. We'll see what they do in the offseason. James asks, we all hear that Tomlin controls the defense. Whether true or not, it's clearly out there. Considering this, how was Brian Flores able to have such an influence during his short stint if this really is true about Tomlin? For the record, not defending Tomlin here. I don't know if Brian Flores had the input on the defense that people think. I think he was just kind of in the building to give him a job and something to do, and he helped evaluate and give his thoughts. Doesn't mean they used what he said, and they chose he got to go and get a new opportunity in Minnesota. So a lot of this is just based on reports. Like the reporter said this, reporter said that. All right, let's go to Tank. Tank asked several questions. He said, great, I made it for questions. Let's go. Number one, Justin Fields is the quarterback of our future. Don't question me, just smile. Do you think giving him a full offseason with an OC will benefit him and the offense next year? Yes, absolutely it will. When he was brought on last year, Russell Wilson had already been signed. So he came into this knowing that Russell Wilson was in the building, in the organization. And he heard what Mike Tomlin said, pole position. If they keep Justin Fields, I just hope they say, all right, you're the guy. You're the guy. Let's see what you can do. I think that changes everything from a play caller's perspective, the offensive coordinator perspective, and his own personal mindset. Continuing with Tank, do you feel the stale offense was a product of the desire to be known as a run-first team? I think they wanted to be that. They didn't have the offensive line for that. But I think that it just went stale for a lot of reasons. Number 3, do you think McCarthy and Vrabel would make great coordinators moving forward for the Steelers? Well, Vrabel's now the head coach of the New England Patriots, so he's not an option. As for McCarthy, I don't know. Number 4, do you see a healthy competition for punter next season with Johnson and Waitman? I don't. I think Cameron Johnson is their punter as long as he's healthy. Tank asks, 5, do you think the Steelers draft guard first round due to the last 2 drafts being tackles, or is it time to find a mean body to learn from Captain Cam? I've missed for weeks. I'm sorry. No. I think that they don't go with offensive guard early. They could. Isaac Seumalo's not getting younger. But it also depends on how they view Mason McCormick. I will say that they do need to add depth on the defensive line. Keanu Benton's great, but they need some more Keanu Bentons, if you know what I mean. And then last one from Tank. Last question. He met Brian Anthony Davis at the Redskins, Commanders, and Dave at the Dolphins. So I guess I'm meeting you next to be the first non-staff member to land the trifecta of photos with the trio. Thank you for this upcoming offseason of Steelers talk. Yeah, Tank, we'll meet up, I'm sure. Maybe it won't be till the 2026 draft in Pittsburgh, which I'll be in and around that Pittsburgh area somewhere covering that event for sure. Ryan Good said, give me your perfect offseason for the Steelers. It could include any coaching changes, draft needs or wants, or free agent needs and wants. All right, Ryan, for me, I'm going to reference the podcast on Monday. I'm going to reference the first half of this podcast today. And I'm going to say pay attention on Friday. And then we're going to continue to unveil this plan. I'm going to do it for you. If the Steelers are listening, I'm doing it for you, folks. We're starting this thing right. So I hope I answered your question there. Ryan Carter says, Jeff, I'm stressed. Has the game moved on and Tomlin is stuck in the past? If so, do you think he could change? Football playoffs are one and done. If that's the case, then getting there has to matter for something. And are 0 playoff wins worse than 8 playoff wins without a chip? I would say that 8 playoff wins is better than no playoff wins, even if they didn't win a Super Bowl, because it would be progress. It would be something that's not just treading water. I mean, that's exactly what it feels like. It feels like rinse and repeat, same old song and dance, whatever you want to call it. We're all stressed, Ryan. Like, we're all fed up. We're all pissed off. It's understandable. I think that Mike Tomlin could change. Will he? That's a different story. All right, let's go to Andres. I feel that Tomlin is and has been the problem. I just feel with all the coaching, with the coordinator changes, he's been the common denominator. Everything he says at his press conferences that the team is not doing, like slow starts, routine plays, etc., falls back to him. Not disagreeing there. RJ asks, if you could ask Mike Tomlin any one question at his press conference, what would it be? So if I could ask any question, it would be to somehow put into his own words the frustration he feels every time the Steelers fail to win a playoff game. I would want to hear him illustrate that verbally, because that would be telling. I mean, he would have a way with words. He always does. But I'd ask him something along those lines. Let's go to Beer Bottle. El Jefe, the LA Rams are in the divisional round with the youngest, cheapest defense in the NFL. The Steelers are one and done, again, in the playoffs with the most expensive defense by a country mile. Is it time to flip the identity of the team? I don't think it's time to flip the identity of the team. It's time to catch the other side up. Time to spend some money on the offense. Time to get rid of some dead weight on the defensive side of the ball. Get some young youth in there. I'm all for it. Andres says, I do think we have good players you could build around, like Jalen Warren, Zach Frazier, Pat Freiermuth. I don't think you have to blow up the team, but there has to be drastic coaching scheme changes and accountability for players like George Pickens. Players like that destroy a team. Again, Andres agreed with you wholeheartedly. Dr. Anthony said, hi, Jeff. One of the many ways that Tomlin seems stuck in the past is how he runs training camp. Do you think his preseason approach could have contributed to the team's collapses at the end of the past few seasons? Are the Steelers just worn out come December? Often, one bad decision leads to a cascade of unintended consequences. What, in your opinion, is the biggest mistake, misstep, or miscalculation that the organization has made in the last 5 years that has contributed to where we are now? Great questions. I don't think Mike Tomlin follows the NFLPA's guidelines for training camp. He only does what he's allowed to do. I do think that he has to prepare his team for going out there and playing games. Preseason's been cut down to 3 games. You have to manage these things differently than you did when he started in 2007. But maybe he does need to tone back a little bit and not push the guys so hard in training camp to make sure, especially the players like TJ Watt, you're going to need them down the stretch. So there's no need to have them out there that much. That's an interesting point. We'll dive into that. Next, also, he talks about the consequences. I think the biggest missteps have been draft misses. When you go back and look at the last 6 or 7 years of the Steelers drafting, it's amazing how many players have not received a second contract. When you look at that should be viewed as a bona fide failure. When you draft a player, especially a day 1 or day 2 player, so we're talking rounds 1 through rounds 3, and you say, man, like, you don't even earn a second contract, that's a bad pick. You're now not filling the cupboard. You're leaving it bare. The pick of Kenny Pickett was rough. Trading of Minkah Fitzpatrick might come back to bite this team because of what they could have received in 2019 without Ben Roethlisberger. We'll never know. That's all hindsight. All right, let's go back to our buddy Steelers fan 69 to finish this up with his dad jokes. He says, "Hello, my friend. What device does Mario use when he wants to communicate with the dead? A Luigi board." Next, I had a goldfish that could break dance only for about 20 seconds. That's good. And the last one, shout out to my grandma. That's the only way she can hear. Very good. I appreciate everyone for contributing. Y'all are the best fans and listeners out there, the Ride or Die crew. I'm a part of it. Y'all are a part of it. We do appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much. We'll be back on Friday talking teen needs. Make sure you stay tuned to Steel Curtain Network and check out steelcurtainnetwork.com. That facelift is coming soon. You want to check it out. It's going to look really nice, real nice. That's it. We finished out. Be safe, be kind. God bless. And we'll see you next time. See you Friday. Go Steelers.